Hello again. This is Matt Peterson, founding editor of The American Mind and vice president of education at the Claremont Institute. In this series, I began talking about red states, new tech, and new media, their importance moving forward in the future for the American right and for America itself. Last time I talked about red states. This time I'm going to talk about new technology. First, a word about what technology is, and some thoughts about why we've come to this place where big tech now threatens us. Technology, the word techne, I mean, it's practical use. It comes it means a tool. And the mistake is thinking that tools are simply, good or evil, or that they're neutral. All three of those are problems. Some tools can be used for evil. Some tools can be used for mostly evil. But obviously, I mean, physical things are physical things. Stuff we make has a kind of value that we put upon it. But nonetheless, tools are not neutral. They have an effect on us, all tools. As Marshall McLuhan said, first we make our tools and then our tools make us. Or at least that quote is attributed to him. So first we make our tools and then our tools make us. The tools we have shape our way of life. And the examples from history you'll remember well. I mean, once we can make machines, for instance, once we have electricity, this technology changes the way we live our lives. It makes it so it's easier to stay up at night. It's easier to have people working all night. The factories give a new kind of job to people, so they're not just on the farm or are laboring in the field. All right, so the technology changes our way of life. And I think a big part of our problem is our society has not thought deeply enough about the relationship between the way in which we live our lives and technology's effect on our life. And when we grow up in one technology, it becomes the water in which the fish swims. It becomes the air in which we breathe. We don't notice its effect on us. And this is dangerous. This is dangerous because we're kind of in a bubble when we use one kind of technology. We don't realize its effect on us. An example would be the way in which the kind of TV generation grew up accepting the idea of network news, the idea that you could have prepackaged in half an hour a kind of objective overview of what's going on in the world. Well, that changed the way people perceived the world. It really did. And it wasn't until you get out of the televisual age, you have more digital technology, people start to see behind the scene. Reality TV becomes a thing, right? And you start to realize, well, these are all highly produced videos. And video still has a large impact on us. But now the air in which we breathe is the internet. So Google, for instance, right, is probably the most powerful and dangerous company in the world, or one of the. And why is that? Because it gives you the illusion that you're doing research when really Google is showing you what it wants to show you 10 clicks at a time. And of course, no one goes, 2-3 pages back. So in other words, Google is now in charge of the crystal ball by which you view the world, and that changes the way in which you think. It goes even deeper than this, though. Because what we see of the world, right? We use tools to see, literally, let's take the telescope. It helps you see farther, right? And as soon as you can see farther, you realize, wait a minute, what's up in the sky? These aren't perfect spheres, moving around. The moon has craters on it. That's what those colors are. And you start to see more of the planets, everything else, right? You start to see farther and faster. And that opens up then the possibility that the heavens are a little different than you thought before. Same with the microscope. With the microscope, you realize, wait, there could be life that we can't see everywhere, right? That's mind-blowing. And it changes the way in which you perceive the world. So technology, I mean, it really, and then never mind the way in which we live our daily lives, right? The technology we have is what dictates, we can commute from our house and we go to an office, right? These things are all subject to radical change, and technology changes all of them. So all that is to say, we've done a terrible job as a society thinking deeply about what technology means and how it influences us and how important it is and how we have to have mastery over it and make wise choices, or otherwise it can do serious damage to ourselves and to the way in which we perceive the world around us. And that's before you get to it being used badly by anyone, right? That's just using a certain product, simply speaking, will change the way we view the world and change the way we live our lives. So when we look at the situation today, We need to actually perceive the importance of technology and how it influences us. We need to think about it a lot more. It needs to be pointed out to us a lot more from a young age, what technology is, how powerful it is, and what it does to us. And then, of course, we have the problem we face today, which is big tech is very powerful. By that, we really mean the companies that rule the internet and the platforms most people use to access and communicate with each other on the internet. And in here, I would just say this: the solution has to be. I have a friend, Peter Rex, who just gave a very interesting lecture for Hillsdale on technology. Peter Rex, Hillsdale, you can Google it. He's also written for The American Mind. And he's made this point to me recently where he says, new tech is what we need. And he's not the only one saying this. It's very true. The only way to defeat big tech, it's not just going to be using the power of government to go after it. Although I think there's all kinds of constitutional ways in which government should be putting pressure on big tech. Of course, that's not going to happen in the Biden administration, which will be, they'll all be in bed together. But we do need to use the power of government, don't get me wrong. But the real way to defeat technology will be with technology. And that means that we need very intelligent people who understand politics and what a decent way of life is, actually thinking about and helping to design technology. Because most of the technology out there now is designed really to enslave people, to profit off them. And we need technology that actually empowers people, the kind of thing that they promised everybody, but that didn't happen. And that would mean in our context, uncancelable tech, the kind of tech that allows people to communicate without being spied on, the kind of financial transactions that Bitcoin and these other currencies provide, where you can be, so to speak, off the grid and the social credit system can't apply to you, and the secure back and forth channels between you and everybody else. Because what's apparent at this point is that the left is furious, the establishment really is furious that Americans in red states might be able to, on Parler, communicate with each other. That will not do. That must be canceled. And they continue. Just today, the One America News Network was taken off of YouTube, and YouTube is causing them serious financial damage. YouTube could cripple and get rid of OANN. And if this becomes the norm, and it already is, there is simply no way they're not going to keep ratcheting this up until they absolutely control speech in America. Now, the good news is that I do think there are all kinds of solutions that could come from a new tech movement that actually means what it says when it says it's going to try to empower people. And there are people quietly within the technology sector who don't agree with this woke nonsense, who don't want this vision of technology to lead to this kind of ideological domination of the United States and the world. But we need to pull together. We need to create spaces where people can freely work and collaborate on the kind of technology we need. And what I'm here to say is this is a political imperative right now. If we do not accomplish this, through actually building new products that then go out to largely red state America, but to the rest of America, then we will lose. I don't see any other way around it. The power of government should be used against big tech, absolutely. That's a sine qua non. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to need technologists and tech companies on our side. And that means politicizing business, in a sense, in a way in which the right refuses to do even now. And this is why we were led into this problem, right? We were sold this idea that, and we thought it was true, that businesses were neutral in politics, and business, like technology, is also not neutral. There's also a political angle to business. Yes, it's oriented for profit, but the way in which you seek profit matters. And ultimately, the political good is over and above the good of business. But we can make rules about the market, and we do. That's how we have a market in the first place. We have rules about it that establish a space of freedom within which people can act in an entrepreneurial manner. But the left has always understood that there's a political angle here. And they certainly understand it now. And the only solution is for the right to start building the companies of the future. And boy, we need to start doing that yesterday. So I'll stop there. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.